Hey there, it's Kathy with Be Creative with Kathy, and I am dying to show you what I did with my paper pumpkin. So last night we had my Pick a Kit class. I don't know if you call it a class. We just get together on Zoom. We spend some social time, we enjoy each other's company, and we work on projects. And so yesterday I got my paper pumpkin. So last night at that event I worked on my paper pumpkin. And Mary, another lady that was there, showed me what she did with her paper pumpkin. I stole her idea. I think it's a great idea and I want to show you. But first of all, if you're not familiar with paper pumpkin, let me show you what paper pumpkin is. It's a card or a subscription that comes to your door every month, a paper crafting subscription. Sometimes it's cards, sometimes it's projects, sometimes it's gifts, boxes, bags, tags, all kinds of stuff, different stuff in there. And it's a surprise every month. So my box is almost empty because I've used most of it, but you get a stamp set every month, and now the stamp set comes in these plastic things. I just take my glue dots and glue it to the paper so I can see what my stamp set says. Although I like to, when paperpumpkin.com is where you'd go to subscribe, has a printout like this. So I like to take that printout every month. I fold it in half and I put it in my little book like this, and then I can tuck it in my stamp set when I'm all done. I tuck it in here, and that way I can see what my stamp set says on it, and I have storage for my stamp set. So that's another thing you can do with Paper Pumpkin at paperpumpkin.com. Just click on how it works, scroll down to the bottom, and that's where you can find that printout. Okay, keep going, Kathy. This month we got an ink. You get an ink spot every month. This month is gray granite. Of course, I have the big ink pad, so when I stamp today, I'm going to use my standard size ink pad instead of that little ink spot. And then you get your adhesive. In this case, we got dimensionals, and we got kind of like some, I'm going to call them adhesive sheet strips. I didn't use mine, oops. But, and then you get some bling in there too. This time is some really pretty adhesive back sequins. Okay, then your packaging comes with this cardboard. Now the reason I didn't throw my cardboard away is because this is great to stamp on. Photopolymers kind of need a cushion, and so I like to stamp on here. And you can practice on your chipboard, so you have, before you stamp on your tags or whatever. So that's what the chipboard I think you should use for. And then it comes with full instructions like this, pictures, colors, measuring tape, I mean the whole thing in here. And then on the back, it even gives you coordinating products, a little barcode, I think, what are these called? QR code, sorry, that you can scan to see a video. And then it advertises about the add-ons. You can get some add-on dies, and I'll show you those later in the video. So there's your instructions. This month had really pretty card bases. Look at those card bases. Aren't they pretty? Love the card bases. And then the envelopes look like this, which I think are beautiful too. Coordinate with each one of the card bases inside too. Love that. And then they come with all these little bits and pieces. So these are the fronts of the cards. You saw them. Well, I'll show you the cards too that I made. They have these three little thingies like this. I've already stamped on here, so they had like these outline die cuts that you could stamp on that match the stamp set perfectly. Little strips like this that go in your card. So I just have all that in there. But let me show you what the kit made. Well, kind of, because I like to add another layer. I'm kind of a paper snob, and I like to add another layer to my card. So this one, I even used the back of the card base and layered it that way. But this one, I just took a piece of melon mambo, cut the card base 5.5 by 8.5, scored it at 4 1/4, cut out that card base that they gave us, or I should say cut it down like this, and then layered it on top, and then added that pretty layer that they have that has the frame on it with the greeting that's in the, oh well, you keep going, and the bling and all that. It's a really pretty card this way. But then Mary came up with even a better idea. Here's the third one. I didn't show you the third one. So let me show you how we made that really quick. It won't take long, I promise. Okay, and then stick around to the end, because if you're my Paper Pumpkin subscriber, if you subscribe and you have chose me as a demonstrator, I have a make and take this month for you that I'm going to put in the mail hopefully today, and I'll show you how to make that as soon as I make this card. So what Mary did, because this was Mary's idea, is she took and folded the card so all the color is on the inside, right? Like this. And then me, I added to it. I'm going to take that card base and I'm going to just cut it down. Now here's the fold here. I'm going to put it at the 4-inch mark on my paper trimmer. So I'm going to cut it down to 4 inches. And then because I kind of want it still centered, I'm going to put this at 5 3/8 and cut off a little bit at the bottom. This is my fold here, although this case it doesn't matter. It just makes it easier to cut when your fold's at the bottom. Turn it around and then place it at 5 1/4 and cut it there. So now I have a piece that is 5 1/4 by 4, which is typically your top layer of your card. Okay, then that pink piece, I'm going to take that and I'm going to just fold it back to this edge here. And now look, we have a pretty fancy fold card like that. Now let's get the pieces that coordinate with this card. That little piece that looks like this. Look how pretty that is. And then let's pick a greeting. So the different greetings we have are, you're simply the best. What's this one? This one says, friends like you make life beautiful. This is a simply the best. Let me try to grab a couple of different ones if I can find them here. What's this one say? This one's, nope, that's the beautiful one again. Every time I pick one up, it's the same one. Let's celebrate you. That's what this one says. Oh, and this one, I'm so lucky to have a friend like you in my life. I think, though, I'm going to pick the friends like you make life beautiful. And then on the inside, I'll probably even send it out as a birthday card. Now, along the way, I'm hoping I can show you a few tips and tricks. I'm going to grab a Post-it note here because I want to attach this to the front of my card, but I want to make sure I only have adhesive on this side, right? So a trick to do that is you take a Post-it note, and I'm going to turn it over so the sticky side is up, and just lay it here with my card along that line where I have a fold on it. And I'm going to get this right where I want it on my card and then stick it to that Post-it note. And now when I pick this up, I know that I only want adhesive on this side of the Post-it note. So again, in our package was, here they are, the dimensionals. So I'm going to use dimensionals on this one. And they're kind of mini dimensionals, which is nice because, whoop, I got 2 of them. They fit right here on those little flowers. Now remember, I can't put one here because that's on the wrong side. We don't want any adhesive on this side of the Post-it note. Do it like this, here. And I'm going to just stick quite a few because I want it to be nice, adhered, and level. So I think that looks good. Now I take all those little backs off, which I'm almost, well, I am very, Post-it note or dimensional backs drive me nuts. So I have a video if you want to go to my YouTube channel, and I have a way to show you how to do away with Post-it, or I keep saying Post-it, but I mean dimensional backs. And I might start doing that with my paper pumpkin too. Okay, there, I have all the little backs off now. That take a pick tool worked really well. Now I'm going to just take and lay my Post-it note back where I had it before. I know that my adhesive's on the right side, and then you remove the Post-it note, and just like that, bada bing, bada boom, you have it adhered with no adhesive where you don't want it. I think that's a great trick, and I wished I could remember who I learned that from, but I can't. So if it was you, give a shout out and say, it was me. Okay, and now I've jumped ahead of myself because I should have done this step before I did the dimensionals on the back, but it's going to work out. I have a piece of Melon Mambo, just a coordinating color here. This is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, just a 1/4 sheet of cardstock. I'm going to take just regular tape runner and adhere this to that Melon Mambo cardstock. And the only reason I would have done that first is it's easier to tape something down when it doesn't have those bumps on it. But now look how pretty that card is. And now that I've added that base, it's a pretty sturdy little card like that. So we just need our sentiment, which I think I'm going to put right there. So I want a dimensional on this corner. Over here, a little bit of tape on this side. There we go. I have to talk to him twice and tell him. Take that dimensional back off and then lay that right here so it lays flat. And now my card like that is all done. Pretty, oh, not all done. We need to put some bling on there. Let's get these sequins. And I'm gonna just kind of splatter them down here. There, and then maybe one more right here on the corner of our tag. There we go. And look how pretty those are. So then let me show you what they look like, all of them, because here's the orange one. Now, the orange one, really, it's Calypso Coral. I just took and stamped right there in the corner. I thought that looked better than trying to get that tag to cover up my flowers. Thought that one was pretty. And then the green looks like this. How pretty that is, right? Okay, so that's another thing I forgot to mention. In your first Paper Pumpkin subscription, you get a Paper Pumpkin block, and you can use that block over and over again as you get the rest of your Paper Pumpkin, or the next month, so you have some way to mount your stamps onto that block. So that's what I did with my Paper Pumpkin, as I turned most of them into the pretty card. I did the one set as Paper Pumpkin subscribed, and then I did the rest like this. So let me show you now, after you've done all your cards and you want to make some more cards, let me show you the make and take that I'm going to put in the mail for you. I'm not going to show you the card, I'm going to just show you how to put it together. So you have the envelope. Now if you want to stamp on the envelope, of course I suggest you do. I'm not going to, because I'll lose it and I can't find it to put it together. Okay, let me make sure I have, okay, so we have just a basic white card base. I'm going to just take that, it's scored right there for you, so you fold on that score line. And then from that stamp set, they have that big flower. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that big flower on the inside of my card. I'm going to stamp off a little bit so I can protect my work surface here. But with that flower, I'm going to just take it like this and just stamp it in the corner, so the inside of my card has a little bit of flair to it too. Okay, set that aside for later. Then you have a piece of Pretty in Pink. This is new Stampin' Up's in color. We're going to just take and put adhesive. Now, if you don't have a tape runner, of course, you just use those mini glue dots, or these things. The adhesive triangles, I don't know what those are, but they're really sticky, I bet. So I'm going to put that down here on the front of our card like that. Then this beautiful tissue paper, this is what our Paper Pumpkin was wrapped in. You're going to hang on to that for just a second. We have 3 more pieces of basic white and the little butterfly bling that I think is beautiful, so we're going to use that too. Now on my 3 little pieces here, set this aside for later. These 2 here, this one, normally you take adhesive sheets and you put it on the back of your project so you can stick it onto your card. In this case, I put it on the front. So this is the larger one, and you can see which side has that covering on it from the adhesive sheet. We're going to use that one first. I'm going to take my tissue paper, I'm going to wad it up in a ball, and then I'm going to flatten it out, and then I'm going to wad it up a different way. I'm going to get rough with it, mistreat it, throw it around. But I want to really get my tissue paper soft and crinkled all over. So one more time, I'm going to crinkle up my tissue paper. Whoops. There we go. And I think now feels really soft. It's pretty crinkled. Okay, one more time just for good measure. All right, so I have my tissue paper now. I'm going to kind of lay it flat, but not get all of those wrinkles out. I love the textured in the tissue paper like that. And then I'm going to take the adhesive back off the top of my die cut here. Now, if you're interested, this die cut comes from the, let me show you what die set that is. It comes from the Countryside Corners. This die set, I love this. This is a great layering die, and I believe this one is second to biggest, so this would be third from biggest for our next layer. Okay, like I said, I'm going to take that adhesive off, or the coating off the adhesive, and not all the way, just to make sure that I get my tissue paper where I want it. And I'm going to take my tissue paper, kind of hold it here, lay it down on there, get it on there, remove the rest of the adhesive, and just continue to layer, or to set that tissue paper on to my white cardstock. And now it's stuck down really good, but it still has all those really pretty textures and creases and all that in there. Okay, now with my paper snips, I'm going to just snip off that excess tissue paper. And because we used that adhesive sheet, you're going to get a nice edge on there because it's stuck down good to the edges. There's no like place where we could have missed glue on there. Well, I say that now. Oh yeah, there we go. Get rid of this piece. Now you could also just fold it over maybe and glue it down, but I think it's faster and simple, and it still looks as good if we just trim it down. There we go, and now we have a nice layer that looks just like that. Okay, let's go ahead and stamp on this piece now. So I'm going to take that big flower again, and I'm inking up in that gray granite ink, and I'm going to just stamp this up at the top like this. There we go, and take one of the greetings. Now I have that same greeting mounted that says, well, I'll stamp it and then I'll tell you what it says. But it fits down here at the bottom, very nice. But all of them would fit. I think all of them would look good. So I'm so lucky to have you in my life. Okay, we're done stamping. Let me put my ink pad away so I don't get my fingers in it. Now you could just take this and you could layer it on there, and you could layer it on here, and I'm going to do that, but I wanted to show you how pretty it is even if you don't color it. However, I'm going to go ahead and color my little flower, and I'm going to use Stampin' Up's colored pencils. Now, depending what you have to color with, you could use just about anything to color little flowers. I'm going to use a Melon Mumbo colored pencil, and I'm going to just take it in there, put some colors down on my flower, and I'll try to hurry. I am not a fan of coloring, and I don't know how you're a fan of watching coloring, but it shouldn't take long. Give me just a second. Just throw some color down there. Now these are watercolor pencils, so after you color, I want to make sure I stay in the lines. I can't do two things at once. Okay, and then I'm going to use some Old Olive on my leaves. Now, after you color, you usually take something like a paintbrush, some water, and smooth that colored pencils out. That's why they're called watercolor pencils. However, Stampin' Up! Has what they call a blender pen, and I'll show you that in just a second. So that's what I used to use, the blender pen, to smooth out my pencil lines. But I have discovered, and there again, I wished I knew who to give credit, that Stampin' Up's Stampin' Blend Color Lifter has alcohol base, and you can smooth out your pencil lines with that. And since it's alcohol based, it doesn't mess up your paper. It doesn't get it too wet. It works really, really well. So that's what I'm going to use to just smooth out my little pencil strokes on my leaves here. I am a fan of the watercolor pencils. Okay, now when you get done with that color, you need to find a piece of scratch paper here and make sure that your blending brush is clean. And then I'll go up to that pink and do the same thing. Just make it smooth and hit those corners. There we go. Same thing here. Now I should tell you too that Stampin' Up! Has two assortments of watercolor pencils, and I told you that I used Melon Mumbo and Old Olive, and I just throw them all in a box here like this. Here's the blender pens I said I would show you. I do still have them in there, but I don't know which assortment. Well, I do have it on the back. Look here. So the Melon Mumbo, yes, and the Old Olive both come from assortment number 1. And that's what I use to color my little flower here. Let me make sure my blending brush is clean. So another thing that you can blend your color pencils with is a really nice, pretty product called Wink of Stella. So I'm going to just take that. Now this just puts a really pretty shimmer on your project. So I'm going to just take my flowers here, and I know what I forgot to do, so I'm going to go back and do that. But it puts a really pretty shimmer on your flowers, and it also does move that pencil strokes and smooths those out too. Okay. Again, with the Wink of Stella, you got to make sure you clean your brush before you go to a different color. But with my colored pencils here, I forgot I want to do just a little bit of highlighting. So I'm going to trace, and I'm pressing pretty hard, but I'm going to just trace those lines in the flower. Oop, I forgot this one. And just get a little bit of detail on my flower here, a little bit of shading with that. Now, watercolor pencils, when it gets dull up here and you're not getting the color you want, or that deep color that you want, you just simply give it a little sharpen, and then you can go back in there. Be careful you don't get it too sharp and push, because you will break that tip. But there we go. Now I'm getting that dark parts of the flower that I want to just give it a little bit of shading. And I just said don't break your tip, and then guess what I did? Let's do a little bit on the leaf. I'm just going to follow there, follow there. You can really see it in the green, but there you go. So now I have a shaded flower, nice and pretty. Now we're going to take that with just a little bit of adhesive here, and I'm going to layer it onto here. And look how pretty that is so far. Then with some dimensionals, I'm going to just take 5 or 6, maybe 7, because I'm going to go across the center here. Well, that back came off, so let's stick him like that. And then a couple more down here. And then lay this right on the front of our card. And look how pretty that is. That tissue technique gives it that extra pop of color, plus a little bit of texture. Now we're going to just take our little butterflies here. I'm going to put one down here by my words. And I lost one. One popped off. Did you see where he went? I'll probably find him next to my shirt or on my shirt later today. Oh no, here he went, way over here. I found him. And we're just going to pop him maybe right there. And look how pretty. Now you're probably asking me, Kathy, there's one more piece of cardstock. What are we supposed to do with that? And then let me show you. I'm glad you asked. Let me show you to do with that. So you can take and stamp that little flower. Now I've done one in advance, so you don't have to watch me color again, right? So I took, this time I colored it with a little bit of Daffodil Delight. Look how pretty that is. And I talked earlier about those add-on dies. Let me show you what they look like. So here is January, February, and March, because every quarter, every 3 months, that's not a quarter, Stampin' Up! Comes up with 3 more add-on dies. This is the next set. And then this is July, August, and September. I don't know if that's the right order, but this die that comes in those add-ons cuts out that little flower perfectly. So we're gonna go ahead and get our die cut machine here. I'm gonna use the little guy. I'm even gonna use a piece of tape here. This is just green tape, something that doesn't stick to your cardstock, and you can position your die where you want it. Make sure I move it around until I see all of those black lines on all sides of the die. And then I'm gonna hold it in place with my green tape, set it onto my pads here. Now I have number 1 and number 2s, and I'm gonna stagger them here, because when you use the little guy, you gotta stagger your plates or else he gets temperamental. Open those sides, slide him through. And now look how nice those dies cut out that little flower. Look how pretty that is. Is that not beautiful? Now I've already done the Wink of Stella. I've already done the shading. I've done everything. So then we bring back in that card. I'm going to put just a few dimensionals. Oh, wait, I see there's 2 little pieces here that need to be popped out. There we go. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back. I always set my dimensionals where I can't find them. Here they are. On the back of this, just to give it some pop. And then set this. Now, if you do it this way with the dies, you don't have to color this one, but I'm going to just layer that right over, and look how pretty that yellow is with that pink. There you go. So, like I said, if you're my Paper Pumpkin subscriber, be sure and watch the mail. Your make and take, I'm going to try to get them in the mail today, but it'll be to your mailbox soon, and you can make a card just like this with all your Paper Pumpkin pieces and parts of your kit. Okay, now let's say, for instance, you're like, Kathy, I really want this kit, but I'm not a Paper Pumpkin subscriber. Go ahead and subscribe to Paper Pumpkin. They should have refills. Fingers crossed that Stampin' Up! Will have refills in their store here very soon, which is just the consumables. I bought a few extra Paper Pumpkins, so I have extra ink spots and extra stamp sets. So if you decide to get the refill and become a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, just let me know and I'll send you those extra stamp sets and ink spots. Although I should warn you, I only have 2, so you have to be the first 2 to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin. But then that way you can get this month's kit too. Alrighty, so if you have any questions, if you need anything, be sure and reach out and let me know. Leave a comment, I'll answer all your questions. I'm really glad you stopped by to watch me today. Thanks a bunch. Take care, bye-bye.